So this is the exam paper you will be studying tomorrow. It is from May last year when you started. Obviously you're going to make sure you put your surname here and your other names here. If you know the centre number, great, pop it here, and if you know your registration number by heart, you can put that there too. As you're waiting to start the exam, it's always a good idea to have a look at the information that you can see further down. Got the standard kind of instructions. You should have your pen with you and everything anyway. We know that the total for the paper is 50, and for each question the mark scheme is shown in brackets, so you know how many points are available for it. That's where we've got with 2 mark questions. We know we need to provide an explanation too, and pretty good advice is going to be to read each question carefully, try and answer every question as we've been working on, and then check over your questions at the end. So here we are looking at the first page, and we've got question 1, all the usual multiple choice things that we're used to. Question 1, we have identify the organisation that produces and licenses the production of printed music. Those are our keywords. So they all say company afterwards, so we can't narrow it down that way. We need to be thinking about these words that I've underlined here and which they might apply to underneath there. Question 2, which one of the following, just underline that because some of us have a tendency to sometimes put in more lines, etc. Which of the following is most suitable type of contract for a full-time record shop employee? So we know we're talking about different types of contracts, so we can see that all of these are familiar to us, but we're looking for one that might represent a full-time contract, and that's going to be our clue as to which is going to be the correct answer there. Next part, question number 3, is which one of the following commonly provides services to a composer? So we're going to be thinking about which of these would be suitable for a composer. We know a composer is someone who writes music, so we can look at each of these and think, would someone who writes music have any need for that? And we might then narrow it down, and we're looking at which of these, for example, provides a service to people. And our final one, which one of the following, question 4, which one of the following is the best example of a large multi-use space? So we know it's going to be large and it has many purposes. Now these are obviously all kind of performance places. So looking at the list, we've got arena, club, pub or studio. We can probably narrow it down pretty quickly to a large space. And which of those, if you've narrowed it down to 2, which one has many things going on there? It's used for different events. Now moving on to question 5, we have which one of the following job roles involves securing funding for events? Alright, so maybe the first word we'll look at is events. Which of these might have anything to do with musical events? That's going to be live events that we'd typically think of. From that, you should have probably narrowed it down to the right answer. If not, we can think of any of the jobs that we know that the person would have to find funding, alright, because they may be paying out things for the said event. Next one, identify the job role which will be responsible for organising event security, booking events or booking gigs to have at the place, and keeping licenses up to date. Now, there's probably a clue here that if it's to do with booking events and licenses and security, that we're talking about something to do with live events again. So which kind of role? This sounds like a pretty serious role, a pretty big role, if you are responsible for all of these things here. Question number 7, we have identify the type of organisation that arranges the delivery of CDs to a high street store to be sold. Alright, so we know there's some keywords around this, delivering things, moving products around. That's about as much of a hint as I can give you there. And finally, question 8, we spent a bit of time last lesson discussing the role of a music producer, because it's a question that a few of us had got wrong last time. So given that, this should be quite fresh in our mind of music producer. If we're really struggling, we could be thinking, which area of the music industry is this to do with? Is this to do with, is it to do with performing music? Is it to do with recording music? Is it to do with any other area of the music industry? And once we've made that decision, we can hopefully work out what kind of things they might be responsible for once we've picked that out. So now we've moved on. You can see we are looking at question number 9 now. Alright, and we're looking at explain one reason why an artist should join PPL. Alright, so we'll have a couple of keywords there, explain, which links to here, where we have 2 marks for it, so we only need to give 2 points. We're looking at something to do with artists, who are our performing and recording people, and something to do with PPL. Now, last week again, PPL was one of the answers to one of the questions that the class were all kind of struggled with. So given the work that we did on that, we should have a clear idea of remembering now what PPL does. Okay, I can't give you any more of a hint. That's going to be down to your understanding of what PPL does. Let's have a look at question 10 now. So we're looking at identify 2 responsibilities of front of house staff if a fire breaks out during a performance. So we've got 2 marks for this, but we've got 2 points. So might stay safe by explaining each point, but we're looking at it's during a performance. We're looking at something to do with a live event, live music, and we're looking at the job we're talking about is front of house staff. Now we should know that that means it's not the band, it's not the technical people, this is the people who are around the audience. This could be security roles, it could be other things. So if there was a fire, what kind of things, responsibilities do we think they'd have to do? This could be pretty straightforward because you've got experience of fire drills at school where the staff in school are responsible for the audience, which is used when you're in school. So have a think about linking that to what you already understand and what you've seen in every day. Question 11 now. Give one promotional way an A&R representative might be encouraged to attend an event. So we're going to do a little bit of thinking here. We have got someone is going to attend an event. Alright, we have got A and R, which hopefully we are confident with understanding what A and R is. If not, that's going to be something we need to look up so we're sure about it. So we want this A and R person to attend an event, and we need to think of a promotional way that we can get them there. Alright, what can we do to get an A&R representative there? Alright, and that's all linking to question 11. So here we are on question 12, where we again have the word explain, a reason why a business might choose to fund an event. So explain, because we've got 2 marks, we need to give a reason, and then we need to explain that reason. So that might be the benefits to something. So we're talking about funding an event, which is going to be a live performance. So we're thinking about live music. Fund is going to be funding with money, alright, so they're providing money for it. And we're looking at a business. So it doesn't specify a music business, but we could think about it. So why would anyone want to fund an event? We're thinking about the positives here. What could this business get out of funding an event? Could this be any more helpful? So here we are now looking at section B, and we know that this part here, Ray's concept promotion, is going to link to everything that we'll come across in section B. It tells us that here, but we should be familiar with seeing it. So I'm going to have a read of this, and I'm going to underline what I think are the important words from it. So Ray is a freelance promoter. He has worked on a number of musical events, concerts and festivals, and is usually hired by the venue. Ray has been asked to promote a concert of new music featuring the work of Tiggy, who is a local composer and performer. So this has given us a lot of information about Ray's job as a promoter. We've just been told he works on various musical events and that he's often hired by the venue. So the venue contact him and pay him. And you can guess that most of these questions are going to relate to this last part of Ray being asked to promote Tiggy's work. So we'll have a look at question 13 now. We're going to give 2 factors that Ray needs to consider when matching an act to a venue. 2 marks, so we need two factors, as it explains here. So if we were planning a performance at a particular venue, a particular place, what things do we need to consider? So we need to think about the type of act, what kind of things are important about them, and how we make the right decision about which act goes to which venue. Question 14, moving on. Ray works with the venue before the concert. Identify one additional organisation Ray might work with in promoting this concert. Alright, so it's only 1 mark, but we need to think of someone that will help with the promotion of a concert. And we might be thinking of a big organisation. Might not have to name one specifically, but we're going to think about the type of work that they do. Question 14, part B. Give 2 reasons why Ray might choose to promote the concert using social media. So now we've got 2 parts to it. We're all very familiar with social media. We know how it works in the music industry. You know how it works for you. Why might someone promote something through social media? Think about the benefits of you seeing things on social media, and if it's promoted well, this is going to be attracting people to come to the event, isn't it? To come to that concert that we've highlighted there. So we need to be considering why we'd use social media for that. So now moving on to question number 15, and we've got Tiggy is considering doing her own additional promotion for the concert. Explain one advantage and one disadvantage of Tiggy doing her own additional promotion. So obviously a key word there is going to be additional. Alright, she's looking at promoting the concert, but she's doing some additional promotion as well. So there's already some promotion and she's going to do some more. Now because it says explain, that means we need to give our answer and then the reason for it. And again here, a disadvantage to doing that and a reason for that, because we need to pick up our 4 marks. So that's how we're going to approach that. We're looking at, we know what promotion is. We might think of different methods of promotion and thinking about why it would be good for her to do some more promotion, but what the disadvantage could be to her doing that additional promotion. So have a think about her experiences and why it would be bad or good for her to do that as well. Now with question 16, we have got a bit of key information in the question, and we know this is one of our 8-mark questions, so we're going to use our It's For You technique. So keywords underlined again, we have freelance artists, typically earn money from several different sources. Discuss the implications of freelance employment compared to a full-time job at an established company. So I'm going to look at straight away of the technique I need to use is going to be It's For You. Alright, pretty straightforward. I know I'm using that. So my introduction to the topic and scenario, the It's part, is going to reference all of this information at the top, as well as that first bit of information that we came across in section B. We need to remember we're talking about that. Now what we're going to do, it's going to take up just about a line or 2 here, where we're going to talk about all the general things to do with the question, remind us what we're talking about. And we're now going to look at the for part. So we're looking at for and against. So we have freelance employment. So what are the reasons for freelance? And what are the reasons against freelance? Right, so we'll have an idea of what that is. It tells us that she is freelance, and it already gives us some clues here about what could be positives or negatives to do with that. We're also going to look at our positives for full-time. In fact, don't forget, this is a full-time job at an established company. That's going to be a really key word in this. But we can also have our look at against. Why would it be a bad thing to work for a full-time job at an established company? So thinking of these are going to be some similarities between these answers, because the reasons against full-time employment might be the benefits of doing freelance work. So I'm not going to give you any more clues to it, but you're going to have to use your understanding of those. And then finally, we're looking at the you part. Now it doesn't ask us whether she should do one or the other, but I would give your review of this. What do you think she should do? If there was an opportunity to work full-time, do you think that she should, or do you think that she should remain freelance? Let's now have a look at section C, and we know that this is going to help us with questions 17 to 20, because it tells us there, and we're talking about Chaotic Black, another fantastic name for a band, isn't it? So we have Jeremy, this time, who plays guitar in his rock band, Chaotic Black. The band have been together for just over a year, and mostly play pub gigs. Band are planning to go on a bigger tour around the country to raise awareness of their music. That's all pretty important. They have lots of equipment, but no transport. Usually relying on their roadie making several trips in his small car to get the equipment to these local gigs. Alright, so all of our next questions are going to be relating to that. Alright, so we need to keep referring back to that. Let's have a look at question 17. One responsibility of a roadie at a venue. Alright, we've already had the mention of the roadie in that scenario up here, so we should have a decent idea. One of our easier jobs to do with live music. We know it's live music because we're talking about a venue, so what kind of roles might a roadie have to do with live music? Next we have question number 18. Reminder that Chaotic Black often play pub gigs, so what is an advantage and a disadvantage for the band playing pub gigs? Now, although there's only 2 marks for this, once you give your advantage, you might want to go on to explain that to really make sure that you've shown your understanding. I would avoid having a one-word answer, and the same for your disadvantage. So when we're thinking about pub gigs, we're going to think about what type of venue they are. We're also going to think about maybe the location of these, the type of people that these gigs would attract, and the likelihood of the band being able to progress in the music industry as a result of playing these gigs. So lots of things to take into account again with the performing aspect of music. So we have the same question but part B, so it's still linking back to the pub gigs, and the question is 2 ways a pub could prevent noise from a Chaotic Black gig disturbing local residents. Now this is similar in way to one of the questions we had in the past about a new venue starting up and concerns that local residents might have. So we've got 2 points available for this one as well. So we need 2 different reasons. So we're thinking about gigs and we're thinking about the noise. So what things are we aware of that a pub could do, that a pub could put in place to avoid disturbing local residents? That could be to do with it being late on as well, but it could also be just relating to the noise from the gig. What could they do to make sure it's not going to disturb local residents? Again, I know it's only 2 points, but I'd make the point and explain how that's going to help. Make the point and explain how that's going to help too. Next part, 19. One advantage and one disadvantage of Chaotic Black buying onto a tour. So we talked about this previously as a way that a band could get experience of gigging, of being on a tour, is that they could buy onto it. That means they pay money to tour with another band. They would be the support act. Alright, so if we know that, we know we're still talking about performing. What is an advantage to paying money to perform with another band, to perform as their support act? Right, we're going to give what we think is the advantage, and we're going to explain here how it is an advantage, because this mark for the question is 4 marks, so we know we need to give 2 marks here and 2 marks here. So we've said what the advantage is and we're explaining how it's an advantage here. We're going to say what the disadvantage to buying onto a tour is. We're going to say what it is, and we're going to fully explain that answer here too. So here we are on question 20, our last question of the paper, and we know it's 8 marks, so we know that we are going to be applying the technique of it's for you to it. And the one with this is it's going to be a little bit different because of the way that the question is worded. So we'll go through it. Jeremy decides that the band need help to take their career to the next level. He's contacted an agency who can offer him a manager, an agent, a stylist. and the band can only afford one of these three options. Evaluate each option for chaotic black. So, our its part, we know, is we're going to link in the question, this first part, about what Jeremy wants. So he wants to have his career of the band taken to the next level. We know that's his aim, so we might mention that again. Our fa part, our reasons for and against. This is going to come in 3 stages this time. So not our usual 2, but we're going to try and give reasons for hiring a manager. Because if that's all we can afford, what are the reasons for hiring a manager? So we're going to look at what a manager does. Alright, what does a manager do? That would help us take our career to the next level. Now, that's going to be quite a considerable bit of information there, hopefully. Now, the next part is going to be an agent. Right? So, we're going to know what an agent does and how that might help us take our career to the next level. And then finally, we're going to look at a stylist. So, we know what a stylist does, hopefully. If not, that's something we need to look into. What does a stylist do, and how could a stylist help us take our career to the next level? The next part to it is we are looking at our reasons against. Right, so this might be a bit difficult, but what would be the limitations of just having a manager? Okay, so why would that be a bad thing if we can just have a manager? What would be the bad thing if we just had an agent and if we just had a stylist? You know, so are there any of these things that they do that we could do ourselves? Okay, we don't need to pay for one of them because we could take care of it ourselves, perhaps, would be a good thing or a good argument. And again, because we're evaluating this, we are going to give our conclusion at the end, our you part. We'll give our conclusion about which we feel Jeremy should do, and again, a little summary of why that's the case. That should be picking up our 7 and 8 marks, no problem for that.